The Los Angeles Dodgers organization was hit with absolutely devastating breaking news that sent shockwaves throughout the entire baseball world. In a move that nobody saw coming, manager Dave Roberts delivered what can only be described as a ruthless final punishment that has left players, coaches, and fans in a complete state of shock and disbelief. Alex Cole has been officially demoted in a decision that ends his time with the Dodgers in the most humiliating way possible. But that was not the only bombshell. In an even more shocking development, Dalton Rushing has been banned, leaving everyone questioning what could have possibly led to such a severe and unexpected decision. And just when it seemed like the chaos could not possibly get any worse, the biggest news of all emerged. Shohei Ohtani, the face of the franchise and the biggest superstar in all of baseball, has reportedly become so angered by the actions of Major League Baseball that he is refusing to play. This is the full story behind one of the most dramatic and explosive days in Los Angeles Dodgers history. The tension inside the Dodgers organization had been building for days. Behind closed doors, manager Dave Roberts had been in intense discussions with the front office, team executives, and members of the coaching staff about how to handle the increasingly toxic situation that had been developing within the clubhouse. The behavior of certain players had crossed lines that could not be ignored, and the time had finally come for decisive and ruthless action. According to sources who were present during the critical meetings, Roberts made it absolutely clear that he was prepared to take whatever steps were necessary to restore order, discipline, and respect to the Dodgers clubhouse. He told executives that he would not allow the actions of a few individuals to destroy the culture and unity that the organization had worked so hard to build. The message was firm, direct, and left no room for debate. Action needed to be taken immediately, and it needed to be severe enough to send a clear message to everyone in the organization. When Roberts finally called the team meeting that would change everything, the atmosphere inside the clubhouse was tense and uncomfortable. Players filed into the room quietly, sensing that something major was about to happen. Some sat with their heads down, others whispered nervously to teammates, and everyone waited anxiously to hear what their manager was about to say. Roberts stood at the front of the room, his expression serious and his demeanor more stern than most players had ever seen before. He looked around the room, making eye contact with several players, and then he began to speak. His voice was calm but carried a weight and authority that immediately commanded everyone's full attention. "What has been happening in this clubhouse over the past few days is completely unacceptable," Roberts began. "This organization has standards. This team has values. And when those standards and values are violated, there are consequences. Today, I am announcing decisions that have been made at the highest levels of this organization, and these decisions are final." The room fell into a deathly silence. Every player held their breath, waiting to hear what was coming next. Roberts turned his attention to Alex Cole, who was sitting near the back of the room with a look of nervous defiance on his face. The manager's expression hardened, and his next words were delivered with cold precision. "Alex Cole, effective immediately, you are being demoted from this team," Roberts announced. "Your behavior over the past several days has been unacceptable, disrespectful, and completely incompatible with what we stand for as an organization. You have insulted your teammates, you have shown a complete lack of accountability for your actions, and you have demonstrated that you do not possess the character or maturity required to be a part of this team." The words hit the room like a bomb. Players turned to look at Cole, whose face had gone completely pale. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but no words came out. The reality of what had just been announced was sinking in, and the devastation was written all over his face. Roberts continued without pause. "You will report to our minor league affiliate immediately. Your time with the Los Angeles Dodgers is over. Pack your things and leave this clubhouse today." The finality of the statement was crushing. This was not a temporary demotion or a chance to work his way back. This was a career-ending decision for Alex Cole as far as the Dodgers were concerned. His actions had burned every bridge, and there was no path back to the major league roster. Cole sat frozen in his seat, unable to process what had just happened. Other players avoided making eye contact with him, knowing that this was a moment of complete humiliation and defeat. Within minutes, Cole would be packing his locker and leaving Dodger Stadium for what would almost certainly be the last time as a member of the organization. Teammates who witnessed the announcement later described the moment as one of the most uncomfortable and shocking scenes they had ever experienced in a professional clubhouse. The ruthless nature of the punishment sent a clear message to everyone in that room. Disrespect and toxic behavior would not be tolerated under any circumstances, regardless of who you are or what position you hold. Just when everyone thought the announcements were finished, Dave Roberts dropped another bombshell that left the entire room in a state of complete shock and confusion. The manager turned his attention to Dalton Rushing, a young player who many in the organization believed was a victim of Alex Cole's toxic behavior rather than a perpetrator of any wrongdoing. Dalton Rushing, Roberts said, his voice still firm but with a slight hint of sadness. You are also being removed from this team, effective immediately. The room erupted in whispers and confused murmurs. Players looked at each other with expressions of complete disbelief. Dalton Rushing banned? How could that be possible? What could he have possibly done to deserve such a severe punishment? Rushing himself looked absolutely stunned. His eyes went wide, and his mouth fell open in shock. He had not expected this. Nobody had expected this. The young player had been seen by many as someone who needed support and protection after being verbally attacked by Alex Cole. And now he was being banned from the team. It made no sense. Roberts raised his hand to quiet the room and then continued with his explanation. This decision was not made lightly, and I understand that many of you will have questions. However, after a thorough investigation into recent events, it has been determined that Dalton's actions and involvement in certain incidents require his immediate removal from the team. The details of this decision are confidential, but I want to be clear that this is not negotiable and it is not up for debate. The vague explanation only added to the confusion and shock in the room. What incidents was Roberts referring to? What had Rushing done that warranted being banned from the team? The lack of specific details fueled wild speculation among players, and the whispers and murmurs grew louder. Freddie Freeman stood up from his seat, clearly upset and confused. Skip, with all due respect, can you give us more information about what is going on here? Dalton has been a good teammate and this does not make any sense. Roberts looked at Freeman with an expression that was sympathetic but unyielding. I understand your confusion, Freddie. But this decision comes from the very top of the organization, and it is based on information and circumstances that I am not at liberty to discuss publicly. I need all of you to trust that this decision was made for the good of this team and this organization. The non-answer did nothing to ease the tension or confusion in the room. Dalton Rushing sat with his head in his hands, looking completely devastated and lost. Other players shook their heads in disbelief, unable to comprehend how the situation had escalated to this point. As if the shocking announcements about Alex Cole and Dalton Rushing were not enough to send the organization into complete chaos, the biggest and most explosive news was yet to come. Just hours after Dave Roberts delivered his ruthless punishments, reports began to surface that Shohei Ohtani, the biggest superstar in baseball and the face of the Los Angeles Dodgers franchise, was absolutely furious with Major League Baseball and had made the stunning decision to refuse to play. The news first broke through social media when a reporter close to the situation posted that Ohtani had left Dodger Stadium in an extremely agitated state and had reportedly told team officials that he would not be taking the field until certain issues with MLB were resolved. The post immediately went viral, and within minutes the entire baseball world was in a complete frenzy trying to figure out what had happened and what could have possibly angered Ohtani to the point of refusing to play. According to sources close to Ohtani, the Japanese superstar had become increasingly frustrated with what he perceived as unjust and inconsistent actions being taken by Major League Baseball regarding player discipline and organizational decisions. While the exact nature of Ohtani's grievances was not immediately made public, insiders suggested that his anger was connected to how MLB had handled recent controversies involving the Dodgers and other teams around the league. One source close to Ohtani revealed that the final straw came when Ohtani learned about certain behind-the-scenes pressures that MLB had allegedly placed on the Dodgers organization regarding roster decisions and player punishments. According to this source, Ohtani felt that MLB was overstepping its boundaries and interfering in team matters in ways that were unfair and unjustified. The normally calm and composed superstar had reportedly reached his breaking point. Shohei is one of the most patient and understanding people you will ever meet, the source said. But when he feels that injustice is being done, especially when it affects his teammates and his organization, he will not stay silent. He has decided that enough is enough, and he is taking a stand. The news that Ohtani was refusing to play sent absolute shockwaves throughout the baseball world. Social media exploded with reactions from fans, analysts, and fellow players. Many expressed support for Ohtani and praised him for standing up for what he believed was right. Others questioned whether refusing to play was the appropriate response and worried about the impact it would have on the Dodgers season. With Alex Cole demoted, Dalton Rushing banned, and Shohei Ohtani refusing to play, the Los Angeles Dodgers organization found itself in the middle of the biggest crisis it had faced in years. Emergency meetings were called at the highest levels of the organization as executives scrambled to figure out how to handle the rapidly deteriorating situation. Manager Dave Roberts was once again thrust into the spotlight as reporters bombarded him with questions about Ohtani's decision to refuse to play. Roberts, who looked visibly exhausted and stressed, chose his words very carefully when addressing the media. "I have spoken with Shohei, and I understand his frustrations," Roberts said slowly. "He is an incredibly principled person who cares deeply about fairness and justice. I respect his position, and this organization respects his position. We are currently in discussions to try to resolve the issues that have led to this situation." When asked if he believed Ohtani would return to the field soon, Roberts admitted that he did not have a definitive answer. "I hope so," he said quietly. "This team needs Shohei, and baseball needs Shohei. But I also understand that there are bigger principles at stake here, and those cannot be ignored." Meanwhile, Major League Baseball issued a brief statement acknowledging that they were aware of the situation involving Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The statement said that MLB was committed to working with all parties involved to reach a resolution, but provided no additional details about the specific issues that had caused the conflict. Fans of the Dodgers were left in a state of complete uncertainty and anxiety. The team's biggest star was refusing to play, 2 players had been removed from the roster under shocking circumstances, and nobody seemed to have clear answers about what was really going on or how the situation would be resolved. As the sun set on one of the most chaotic and dramatic days in Los Angeles Dodgers history, the future remained completely uncertain. Would Shohei Ohtani return to the field, or would his standoff with Major League Baseball continue? What really led to Dalton Rushing being banned from the team? And how would the Dodgers move forward after losing multiple players in such shocking fashion? These are the questions that everyone in the baseball world is asking, and the answers remain unclear. What is certain is that the Los Angeles Dodgers organization is facing a crisis unlike anything they have experienced in recent memory, and how they handle the days and weeks ahead will determine the future of this franchise and this season.